Hello.
Girl, are you showing up or what?
Oh, I'm sick.
Girl, you're not gonna have a job if you don't show up.
PTO. Tell the people I love them. All I need now is silence and some hot tea with honey.
Do you have your vibrator at least?
No, who thinks of that in these kind of moments?
Hit the line, what's the tea? They talk about everything. Rolls on, I'm calling my mom. Paul is here, Barb too, and they talk about everything. Rolls on, I'm calling my mom.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Hold On, I'm Calling My Mom podcast for another week. Thank you so much for showing up. Really means so much. And I just want to make that clear and start the week off saying that to you guys. I'm Paul, and this is my superstar mom, Barb. Barb. Oh, girl, hold on. Let me call her. Literally, hold on. I'm calling my mom.
Hello.
Girl, are you showing up or what?
Oh, I'm sick. I'm dying. Can you hear my voice? I barely can talk.
Not the cough.
The cough, the sore throat, the fever.
Girl, you're not gonna have a job if you don't show up.
PTO.
Period.
COVID.
COVID PTO.
COVID PTO. Tell the people I love them. All I need now is silence and some hot tea with honey.
Do you have your vibrator at least?
No, not even in thought process.
Girl,
Who thinks of that in these kind of moments?
it sounds like you need just a saltine, some ginger ale, and a cough drop.
Yeah, that's all I'm really needing, to be honest. Vocal rest.
Yeah, well, stars do need their rest. You have a really busy and demanding schedule filming this.
I know, it takes a toll on you.
So what have you been doing in your spare time, at least, to pass the time?
Sleeping, hydrating, watching movies.
Did you watch Shark Whisper on Netflix?
I did watch.
I need to get a percentage of endorsing this because everybody I've seen this past weekend, I'm telling them, have you seen the Shark Whisperer? But how are we not talking about this more? She literally hopped on a fucking great white shark and rode it freely in the ocean. Like, what? I'm like, where is the coverage on this? She's waving to him. She's holding hands to the fin.
I think because she was free diving and she didn't disturb the water and she was peaceful and they don't get that energy. I think that's what made it calming.
My one suggestion, while you have some time to kill in bed, I'm late to the game, but you need to watch the John Wayne Gacy documentary on Netflix. I didn't know anything about him. I don't know anything about the serial killers, like the Dahmers of the world, the John Wayne Gacy's. This motherfucker killed like 30 people and was burying them in a crawl space under his house.
I don't know if that's what I want to watch.
It's that comforting?
Not killings and stuffing people in closets.
Well, the coughs sound like the more you talk, the more you're in pain. So me and the listeners are wishing you a speedy recovery, and we hope you feel so much better, Barb.
Thank you, listeners. I'll miss you. Hope we talk again.
I mean, listen, I know you're on your deathbed, but we need you to do that. We need the signature outro.
I know. I'm hanging up now. Gotta go. Bye.
Girl, hopefully it's not the last time we hear from you. Shit. All right, call you later.
Bye.
Love you.
Love you. Bye.
Bye. I'm literally in front of my laptop screen recording this by myself, everybody. So I want everyone to know the dedication is real. Like, I guess someone could say, why don't you just do it next week? But we don't play with the Hold On, I'm Calling My Mom podcast, and the show must go on, as they say. So unfortunately, the star of the podcast, Barb, and her departure early on in the episode is a sad loss, but got to keep on moving in nature of showbiz. So most importantly is that she's here in spirit. Barb never goes too far. I mean, come on. We got the graduation picture here for a reason. I mean, Barb's spirit lives on even when she's down and out in good old New Jersey, sick in bed with 102 fever, right? So shit, I mean, I can kind of I could kind of get used to this, just talk my shit by myself, talk to you guys, and just have a full on conversation with myself. This might be the best therapy I've ever asked for. It's just a free for all for me, which is kind of scary to anybody listening because you never know what could come out of my fucking mouth. So here we are. Here we are all alone. But we got to keep the story moving. You know, as everybody knows, we've been following Barb's dating journey, getting her ass back out here and finding good love, finding herself along the way, her journey. And it's been really amazing as her son to be able to see her step into her power and do this and find her confidence and just be able to put herself out there and try new things. And I know she'll agree with this, is that she's not somebody who likes to put herself out there like that. So her doing this in front of people who are listening and watching is a big step. And I really love that, you know, she's so open to doing this and talks so openly and honestly. And even just her saying that she's open to finding love is such a big deal for me because that has not always been the case. And I find that to be a really big step for her. So I'm excited to keep the story moving this week. We recorded an episode earlier this week, thank God, because we might have not had an episode for you guys and it might have just been me talking for a full hour. So luckily we did that. And we have on today's episode therapist and friend to the podcast, Jessica Miller. If you remember her, she was on season 1 of the Hold On, I'm Calling My Mom podcast. You might know her as Mind Your Boundaries on social media. We brought on Jess this week because I started having some moments where I was reflecting and honestly was scared for the first time that I pushed or challenged my mom or encouraged her to step out of her comfort zone. And it's almost like, oh, no, you're doing it, but I don't know if I want you to do it all the way now. And that's not really fair for me to feel that way because I'm not somebody who can tell my mom what to do. And I can't ask somebody to think outside the box or step out of their comfort zone and then do it and then try to pull them back in. And I started thinking, oh my gosh, I'm pushing for my mom to find love and find a significant other. And I don't know what I would do without my mom's full attention. I don't know what my life looks like with her having another type of relationship. I don't know what that looks like with my mom having to split time or not answer all of my calls or not be as present as she's always been with me. Because inevitably in a relationship, you cannot give your time to so many other people. You know, a relationship takes so much work, like everything in life. And I thought for a minute, and it kind of was like a blow to my stomach where I was like, oh my gosh, my mom and I's relationship is going to change forever when my mom finds the person that she wants to spend the rest of her life with or share her life with. Our relationship is going to change forever. And I am going to be 100% honest and say that I am not ready for that. As much as I want her to find somebody, I don't want to split my time with her. I don't know how to operate without my mom and I to have the dynamic that we do. And maybe that's partially codependency and it's maybe not healthy, but it's all I've ever known. And it was so scary to think that there could be somebody else who comes into her life and shines the light off of me and puts it on them. And it was hard to kind of come to terms with that because I just love my mom so much. And I've never had to share her love in any capacity like that other than my brothers. And that's something that I'm used to. I know what that feels like to have love split in that way, but not from another man, not from a significant other. Is this significant other going to love when I'm blowing her up every minute, second of the day, or I'm calling her to talk some shit, or I'm filling her in on something about my relationship or my friendships, or asking her personal advice, or you know, my friend has another whole picture they want to send to my mom for medical advice. Like, what, man? You know, he needs to be prepared for that. And that's big expectations. And it made me just think very deeply in a different way that I am scared for my mom to find love, and the irony, because that was something that I really encouraged her to do. And here I am saying, I don't know. It's almost like the grass isn't always greener. You always want something and then you get there and then it's almost like, maybe I didn't want this, but it's too late. But I do also really want her to find somebody to share her love with, because I know she deserves that kind of love. And she's such a loving person that she deserves to give to somebody, and them really appreciate and put her on a pedestal for the woman that she is, because she's never gotten that other than me and my brother. And from an intimate partnership, she really needs that. So it's almost like I'm stuck in this dichotomy. So I asked Jess to come on this week to talk about what boundaries look like between bringing a significant other into a family dynamic, or how familial relationships shift when a partner enters into the equation, i.e., my mom dating and bringing someone in, and how that would shift our dynamic or my familial dynamic with each other, and just going over the different scenarios that I never really thought of until we started doing this podcast and brought up all these emotions. And the beauty of the podcast is that that's what we're here to do, is learn things and move forward and deal with those emotions. And I wanted to talk about them and be honest about how I was feeling. So with that being said, I would love to welcome on this week our friend, Jessica Miller. We have our girl, our friend, therapist, and queen of boundaries back on the podcast. You might remember her from season 1. You might also know her as Mind Your Boundaries, but we know her as our lovely friend, Jessica Miller.
Yay!
Hi, thank you so
Hi.
much for having me.
Hi,
Oh, our
Jess.
pleasure. Our pleasure.
I'm so excited to be here.
I could keep blowing you up, but you know how much I adore you. My mom, I'll speak for her. We adore you.
Yeah.
Always look forward to having conversations with you, because I remember the first time we did our podcast, it was like 2 hours. And I'm like, we had to edit so much because we were like, oh my gosh, we could just have a lunch and just like catch up and talk about life and what's going on and our feelings.
But then we were like, oh my God, we kept her for 2 hours. I hope she was okay about it. And then we're like, nah, she loved every minute
I
of it.
loved it. I loved it. I left so happy.
It's so hard when you have people like you who I really
Yeah.
love. And I'm like, if we lived closer, we'd be best friends. So
Yes.
it's like
I
when we get
know.
these moments, we just dive into everything. But
Yeah.
this season, and I love that you're a guest who always does her homework and knows what's going on with what we're doing on our journey. But
Mhm.
Our
this
journey.
season,
Our
yeah, my
journey.
mom's journey. This season of the Hold On, I'm Calling My Mom podcast, we've been diving into good old Barb, finding the man of her dreams, if you will, and, getting herself back out there at 57, finding
God,
love.
every episode, you have to put that out
I
there.
can't believe that.
Ugh.
I said, Mom, people need to know that, because the stipulate, like, that makes it even more, people like are riding and rooting for you more, knowing that you're a woman.
I'm
in your
old.
50s.
Not at all.
Right?
Not
But
at all.
this is new for me and my mom, Jess. And like, to be honest, I have always seen my mom as an individual, like as her own person. Like, I don't even really feel like I saw my mom and dad in a relationship. So it's like, I almost now at this point at 32, only see my mom as just a separate entity. Like, it's just her. So I don't know her in any other way, shape, or form other than, my mom enabling me being an attention whore for always needing her attention, So I'm like, let's be honest.
Some things never change.
Yeah, they don't. They don't. And I said, let's be honest, like, she's always been present, always readily available for me. And, the more that we explore the potential of her, like, finding somebody, I'm thinking like, well, what the hell happens to me? Like, where do I go? How do I have to share my mom? Like,
Yeah.
what is this? And
Just yep.
yeah, Jess is like, I'm going to write something down to remember this.
I did. I just wrote down grief. You're gonna have to grieve.
I know, literally.
Was it the 7 stages of like grief, right? Of loss or whatever.
Right now you're in anger. No, just
Yeah.
kidding.
Right.
No, I don't even think I'm at step 1 yet, like acceptance that like this is it. I thought you'd be perfect to dissect this, because you are, like, to me, the queen of boundaries. Like, you got like Martha Stewart's like the queen of like home and decor. Jess is the queen of like boundaries and knowing what's good, what's bad.
Thank you.
So I was like, how do I create space for a new partner in my mom's life, especially when I've never had to share her emotionally before? That to me,
The funny thing is, when you said that, I was like, no, let me correct him. It's how is that person going to create space for you?
For me. Yeah, you meet the person, you're just like, we're a package deal.
yeah.
Like as if you're still living at home, a minor.
Yeah. Well, because I said, it's just like a
I have
double-edged.
kids.
We're
It-
close.
Yeah. Well, it's just like a double-edged sword because, like in this journey, I've been like feeling emotions that I've never felt where I was like,
Mm,
I want my mom to find somebody, but I don't think I'm ready to share my mom emotionally, like with somebody else,
mm,
like I don't think I'm ready for our dynamic to change. I don't want it to. And like, does
mm,
our relationship have to change if somebody else enters? So essentially,
mm.
you're on today to talk me off a ledge and talk some
Yeah,
sense into me to help me navigate this.
yeah. Well, I definitely think if your mom finds a special somebody or when she does, that you are going to have to make space for that relationship to build on, right? And she's going to have to pour some of her energy that she normally pours just into you. She's going to have to pour that into her new relationship because they're going to be building something. And so it's definitely going to change.
Yeah, like I have to accept that, right?
Yep.
I think where I struggle is most kids are kind of adapted or privy by my age at
Mhm.
32 in terms of like seeing their parent dating or being, divorced and getting out there and meeting someone. And it's like I'm just now experiencing this at 32 for the first time.
Yeah. Just focus on the fact that you want her to have somebody. Like you don't want her to be by herself. Like you want her to experience love again.
As a human, you innately or naturally, and maybe not for everybody, but most people who care about their parents, you're going to want to see them find love like I do and want them to be happy. But at the same time, you have
You're
to accept
yeah.
that the boundaries between your, parent to child relationship will be different.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure.
That's
Well, I
scary.
think
Yeah.
but then again, it's going to be like your boundaries, my boundaries, a new person's boundaries. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like it's going to be everybody's going to have their own. So that seems like hard to work in.
Well, you guys won't really know. I think Paul will have his own personal boundaries where he will not try to intrude on times where he knows, like, okay, they're watching a movie night. So even though I just had this crazy experience and I want to tell my mom, I'm going to voice note it and like send it to her later or something. Like you're going to have boundaries where you won't intrude on certain times because you want her to have that special moment with her person. But Barb, you're not going to know what your boundaries are until you butt up against something. So
Yeah.
like you'll butt up against something, you'll be like, this doesn't feel so good. And then you're going to set a limit. So
Okay.
really like talking about boundaries until it happens is pretty hard at this stage because
We're not there
that's
yet. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. And like Barb's saying, the new guy, he is going to have like some adjustments because
Yep.
your relationship is so unique and special. Like he's going to have like acceptance. He's going to have to have understanding that truly it is a package deal. And so he's going to come in with an understanding of your relationship, but he'll have his own ideas of what he wants with the relationship. And so Barb and your new man, you're going to have to figure that out together. And that's where you're going to start to feel you're bumping up with some things. And you might have to tell Paul no on sometimes. And then Paul will have to figure out how to deal with that.
See, I can't even imagine that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I would be like, no, this is just what you have to accept. I
Yeah.
know that's unrealistic.
Well, I was thinking like, damn, like the best times of this whole podcast are usually like when I call her about some crazy thing. I'm like, damn,
Right.
our content's going to start. We're going to be running out of content because she's not going to answer my calls during movie nights now.
Yeah. Well, maybe you'll have to set boundaries around how many like uninterrupted blocks of time.
Yeah, how many
Barb
calls
gets.
in the movie that she's allowed to answer?
You
Like
only get 14 calls per
exactly. Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
but
like
see,
fair.
both my boys, they'll call me when they're leaving somewhere, when they're going,
Oh.
who they're like, you know what I mean? They call to check in on me.
Yeah.
It's just like habit kind of. So
Yeah.
yeah, that'll be very
Yeah, it's very interesting to say the
But you know
least.
what? You might find somebody who maybe they just had a very absent mom, or maybe they had a wife before who was kind of a cold mom. Maybe she wasn't that warm and nurturing. And maybe that's like the one thing he finds so endearing is kindness and a close relationship with your children. And that might just jive really well with him because maybe he's really close with his adult children.
I like that scenario, Jess.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
I
might
do
just all
too.
work out and then you're one
Yeah.
big happy Brady bunch.
Yeah. Listen, we're manifesting it here right
Yes.
now. Speaking of this like ideal situation, that's what I envision in my head, to be honest. But like, what are the first steps in like incorporating boundaries in terms of my mom's like new potential man into her life? Like, what does that look like for me? Like, how would I proceed? Right? Like, my mom's living her life separate from me. She's meeting men or she's finding somebody that she sees as worth potential. What does that look like even at that stage? Is it like, I guess something in with her that she's like after date 5 is when maybe you get to meet him, or that's like she needs to like kind of figure out what her boundaries look like in terms of incorporating this guy into our lives?
Yeah, it definitely starts with that, but it really is, and you're so good at it. It's just clear communication. Like that's step number 1. It's just very clear communication. If, if your mom is out dating and she finds someone special and she's a little bit more occupied and less responsive on the text or however you guys communicate, is it always phone calls?
It's
Yeah,
all.
I would say,
Everything?
yeah. I mean, I do like talking to
FaceTime,
her.
it's calls, it's text. Yeah.
Yeah, I do like talking to her more
Mm.
because you know how there's certain people in your life, Jess, where you're like, I just like they're text you like a paragraph. You're like, girl, let me call you. That's my
Yeah.
mom. Like, I'd rather just pick up and be like, what's going on in your
Yeah,
life?
but
You
we
know?
can
Yeah.
also like hear each other on the phone and we can be like, you okay? Like really
Yeah.
check in with each
Yeah.
other. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so let's say she is starting to become into somebody, Paul, you're gonna know right away because, either she's talking about it or maybe she's not talking about it. Maybe she's slower to respond. Something you might do is just give her just a tiny bit of space so that she doesn't feel like, oh my gosh, I'm trying to, focus on this, or I'm really, interested in texting back and forth with this guy, but now I'm getting pulled back because, Paul really needs me, stuff
Paul,
like that.
Paul, when you see like the
Do not disturb sign on.
notification silence.
That's her no go. Like, don't blow me up right now.
There you go. That might be your sign.
That'll be, the first red flag for you.
Step number 1.
Number 1.
I'm thinking, wow, it's going to be such a shift for us. Like, I'm already even thinking like, I need to vet this man. Like, I need to approve him for my mom. Will my mom need to set boundaries for me? Will she not be able to give me all, like her,
Like his last name, so you can't, do background checks.
yeah, yeah. Like, is she not, sometimes I can be a little critical, just a tiny bit, maybe there's something in my gut, like about this new person coming into our lives. Like, what happens if there's somebody who comes in that I'm like, I don't know.
I would want you to say something.
You would?
I would want you to be honest. Absolutely.
You say
Because
that
you
now,
might
girl, but you know how love gets the best of us sometimes.
You
Yes,
get love
but
drunk, and all of a sudden you're just like, "What?
Mhm.
That's
Yeah,
not
but
true. You're being silly."
yeah, but that's the problem is like I might be so because it's been so long that
Yeah.
my eyes are not wide open and he's going to see something that's like, Mom, I'm telling you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That I would
Yeah.
be a little bit more aware of.
Paul, you're describing something that so many parents reach out to me about because your role. Remember the one guest you had on in season 1 who talked about it's almost like Paul is the parent.
Yeah.
Oh
Remember
yeah. I
was
mean,
it the dating?
that's kind of everybody that comes on here, but yeah.
But was it the dating expert
It
for
was Lisa,
older, like
Lisa
It was
Copeland,
Lisa.
yeah.
Yeah, she
Yeah,
literally
and
said Paul was my mom in
Like
in
a
another
past
life.
in
yeah.
another life.
Yes. So I think just like them, when they reach out and they're like, okay, I know like this guy is bad news. Like, do I tell my daughter? I don't want to hurt our relationship. And my response is like, well, it depends on the severity of what you're talking about. Like if it's going to get them in danger and you can't, like there's irreparable damage going to happen. Obviously you have to say something, but there comes a time where you do have to trust your mom. Like you have to trust her gut as well, or her instincts. Because what I was thinking about before we got on here was just how much you care about her, how protective you are. And I wonder if you might jump the gun on some things, worrying that she might go down the same path. And like
Mhm.
you would be like, oh my gosh, you're not actually going to find the love I want for you if you keep going
Yes.
down with this guy. And some of it you might have to pull back and just like a kid, because this would be her second love. This is because wasn't your husband, it was your high school sweetheart, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, I mean, she's going to have to walk the path and kind of learn how to do this on her own too. And you have to trust her.
Yeah, that's so yeah. About that, Jess. About
Well,
that.
it's nice talking to you, Jess.
Yeah.
The show's over. He just answered everything.
It's cutting out.
Yeah, right. No, I mean, you got me. You see me. You know
Right,
who I
that's
am.
what I
You know who
mean,
I.
yeah.
Yeah, I can't like get beat around it. Like you already know me. So it's like you just called me out on here of
Right.
like speaking truth, because I started thinking as you're talking, I'm like, I like to control, I think sometimes the people around me that I love, because
Mhm.
I feel like in my gut, I have a better sense, like I have my finger on the pulse better than they do about what should be good for them. Is that crazy?
No.
But
at
I
the-
mean,
Oh, I thought you were going to say, is that correct? I was going to say, yeah.
yeah, no, I know that
That's
100%.
exactly how you are.
Yeah. But
With love
Yes.
and heartfelt. Yes.
That's the difference. It comes from love. But I think what would make me feel leery is knowing that it's like I wouldn't have full control over my mom anymore. Some guy who came in would have the control of her new relationship. So that even to me is like, well, no, like my mom, for the most part, listens to me. She acknowledges what I have to say, you know, and she respects that. So it's like almost me thinking, oh, well, that lack of control now, we won't have the same relationship, right?
Yeah. I mean, so when people say control, I typically hear that you have anxiety, which like there's fear there, like, you know, they could get hurt. I'm going to protect them. So really we're talking about anxiety. And then we use control to cope with that anxiety. Because if we can just control it, then I'm not going to feel so bad. And then I kind of tame that fear. And so you're thinking, if I don't have any say and I'm not the main influence in my mom's life and there's another man influencing her, how am I going to handle that? Because how am I going to handle like my anxiety around that?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. That's what you're saying.
A good therapist to the T right here. She called it what it is.
Yeah.
But then it comes back to believing in your mom. Like when I was talking, or when you guys were when I was talking, I feel like I'm with you guys.
I know. Yeah. Good. That's what we want you to feel. So that's good.
I do. I feel like we're just all around the table talking. But when you were
I love
talking
it.
to her about the post, your vulnerable post on Father's Day, and no matter how you put it around her and how much you said like, well, I feel like this is just still your trauma coming up, or I feel like it is just this, and you were saying it from your heart, like, I'm still trying to protect you. I'm still trying to move you forward and get you better. I want you to be at this place. Your mom had a very firm ground and firm stand where she was, and she made a lot of sense. And no matter how you framed it, like, she really had a good point. And so even in that example, I was like, there's some times where I think it's good where we trust our loved ones, because if you've, just like the parent-child relationship, if you teach along the way, at some point you have to believe that those teachings, like all those seeds are planted and they're going to do a good thing. Like they're going to hear you in the back of their head, even if you're not there, like pounding it in.
No, that's really like you saying that. You have me thinking in my head, and I'm like, you know, I think that's the thing that I struggle with, is because like you want to give somebody that freedom and opportunity to say, this is what I'm doing. You know, I'm taking the chance on this, and, you know, I trust you. But then it's like, this guy scam likely, this guy got my mom in debt. Well, shit, I should have said, you know, I mean, granted, the scenarios are different, but it's like, you never want to be the person in your family that's like, should have just done that. And I think that's what always scares me, is that I think there could be 1 ounce of like a possibility that could happen. And I'm like, well, I have to say something.
Yeah.
And I think that's control. That's control.
It is, because that's your fear. Yeah. But that's not coming from a malicious way.
Yeah.
That's not coming from, you know, like there's bad control too, you know, from people who they like just want to control you, like an extension of themselves to make their life easier. You're just trying to protect your loved ones. I mean, your entire demeanor, every behavioral choice that you make, everything you say, it's all out of love. And your mom knows that.
And like she brought up with that post, I totally knew. I said that
you did.
Was definitely, I know it was out of love. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you did. And I think it's just also different personality makeups. Like, yes, your mom grew up in a different home where really bad stuff happened and she could never talk about it. So she is conditioned for that, but she also just has her own personality. Like,
Yeah.
and that personality is not ready to just air everything. And so even though you're like, we shouldn't have to hide, we shouldn't have to do it the same way your family did it and taught you how to do it. Like, I want to help you, I want to set you free. She's just like, yeah, but my personality is a little bit different too.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I've had to say, like, even that post, that we're referring to of the Father's Day post was like, that was a moment of, really taking a step back and saying, like, how can I view this outside of myself where it's not just a one, me just seeing it in my one perspective where, like, I have to accept that, like, my mom is functioning differently than I am. She takes things at different paces. And
Mhm.
although, like, I'm like a sprinter, I like get to point A to point B. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm done. I did it. My
Yeah.
mom's like long distance cross country, it's like she's
Yeah.
still got the 4 miles, ready to go around the perimeter. And I'm like, girl, I did that. I did it, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's where the learning lesson is, to be honest, is like, I can't expect people to kind of be there in that moment just because I'm there. And that's the hard part
Mm.
too, because you
Yeah.
see the love is there. So you want them to get there, but you
Yeah,
can't make
of
somebody get there.
course. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely can see it. But I brought up that example, even though it's not in the context of our dating, boundaries topic, just because even in that moment as an outsider, I could see that your mom like had a really good point. She knew her position, but you also felt so strongly that you wanted to move her out of a certain role because you just feel like it will be so much better for you if you get here, or this is so much better. So that's just part of what I'm trying to say is like, there's going to have to be some trust. Like, okay, so even though I know this and I feel like this way is better, I'm going to trust my mom and let her lead on this
All right.
because
I'll have
she's
to,
Yeah.
brilliant. Yeah, she's brilliant.
yeah.
Oh,
I,
thanks, Jess.
Yeah. Oh,
I
yeah, you
got,
taught me a lot in that conversation. I was like, "Oh,
Aw.
yeah," especially when you said I was trying to get ready for this, and it choked me up when you were like, "It's different." I'm not gonna cry. It's different because I'm the mom, and like, and I had my babies in that, and I was just like, "Oh my God."
Like
Like,
you're gonna make me cry.
I was just like, "Oh my God." Yeah, it is different. Like, yeah, it was just so beautiful. Yeah. So your
oh,
she's got so much going on too. So definitely we got to put trust in our parents, even though we really think we know better.
Thanks.
Barb's having an emotional day, so that probably struck a nerve tight.
Totally did. I'm
Sorry.
sorry. I am having a very emotional day.
Oh, well, I'm glad we're together then.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah.
But see,
Oh,
mom, you have somebody. I mean,
yes.
Jess is like a licensed, like got credentials to this, and like that post hit something with her. Like that's why I really said to
Oh,
her,
it
it was
did.
like I was there ahead of my mom, but she wasn't there yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I knew that conversation would be a moment where she would look back and say, "Oh, yeah, that was the moment." Like, when that one moment in your life
Yeah.
it hits you
Yeah.
differently and it just, and you just look back on it, you say, "That was the learning curve for me in that time." That's what
Yeah.
I felt like that conversation would be for my mom when she looks back on that.
Yeah. It was a good conversation.
Thank
Mm.
you.
Moving forward in this. So my mom, finally finds Mr. Right. She wants to bring him over. Is it out of pocket or fair boundaries to like want to dive deep the first time I meet him and get to know everything, i.e., maybe, how many times have you been married? Do you have any kids? What's your credit score? Like is that is that fair
All the
game?
questions that I probably won't ask, he'll ask.
Yeah. Is that fair
Well,
game or is that mind your boundaries?
well, Barb, what do you think?
That's probably mind your boundaries. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not probably. That is.
Well, I think you guys will probably already talk about his personality. So Barb will already tell you, Paul, like he's an open book. He's so laid back. Like I
Yeah.
haven't been able to stump him yet. He just loves questions, so really you can just be yourself. Or she'll be like, he's a little skittish. So maybe just filter it. Like I'm pretty sure you guys will have a
Yeah.
conversation leading up to it. And then you could maybe just put in 3 of the questions versus like throughout the night instead of rapid fire.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes I can come in a little hot, and it all comes from, once again, a good place. But like
Yeah.
my boyfriend would be like, where did that question? And I'm like, I just want to know. Like, I don't mean any harm by it. I just want to
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we'll go back to when you started dating Jordy. Do you know what I mean? Like that, I was kind of like, I was like, so what do you do? Tell me. And he wasn't that way in the beginning. He was very, right? Do you agree, Paul?
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
wasn't like an open book. He's very like
Yeah. He's different. He's
quiet.
different than us.
Yeah, he's very different than us. So then I was like, okay, I got to step back a little.
Mhm.
Now
Oh,
I
now it's
can ask
free
him.
game.
Now I
It's,
can,
yeah.
we've turned him into all of us.
Yes.
Oh my God, that's funny. But even so, that might happen, Barb, you might pair up with somebody that is also a little reserved.
Yeah.
And it might just be Paul, you kind of just reading his vibe in the beginning and then just slowly having him acclimate to like your guys' family dynamic.
Yeah.
Well, I know with me, like even talking about this right now, I'm like, oh, it would almost be like I would need Paul's approval no
Hmm.
matter what. Do you know what I mean? Like
Look what
that.
I've done. Look what I've done to this family.
I know that sounds like so bizarre, but I would be like,
No.
oh, I need him to approve.
Yeah.
Like, or I need to find a right guy to make my son proud. Like, I don't want to
Aw.
meet some
Dud.
dud. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? So I feel like not that I wouldn't have my own standards, but I'm like, I think
You
I'd
should.
double my standards because I'm
Mhm.
like, oh, he has to be here because
Yeah.
Paul needs to like really come back and be like, Mom, I'm so proud of you. You
Yeah.
met such a nice guy. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I think that's fair though, because I even feel like, I would think even as a kid, like I want to bring somebody home to my mom that she's proud of, and knows that
Yeah.
they got their head on straight, they got their shit together. So I feel like,
Mhm.
we kind of have a little bit of like an untraditional role reversal type, like
Mhm.
me and my mom, I feel like we're peers, sure,
Yeah.
she's my mom and there's a different dynamic in that sense that it's my mom. So I respect her as the person who gave
Yeah.
birth to me to this world. But like, as I get older, we do have more of a peer like relationship. So
Mhm.
I could understand where my mom feels that way. I think that shows that that's a good mom that cares what her kids would feel
Yeah,
about her
totally.
significant other,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's just like on all the dating shows that I watch. They're always just like, oh, okay, well, if my family or if my mom or my sister, they don't approve of you, you're
you're
out.
out. Yeah.
And that just shows how much, like how close their family is and how family is number one. And that's, I think, what you'll be doing, Barb, is making sure like our dynamic, yes, it will change a little bit because you have to make room for a relationship, but it's not going to be dismantled because like what you have built is so precious. And so that obviously will be factored in.
Or I'll go the whole opposite way and be like, I'm a teenager again. I'm rebelling against everybody. He doesn't like him. I'm dating him even more.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I'm like, oh my gosh, could Barb like pull a fast one on us and do this? I'm not ready.
reliving my teenage years.
Yeah.
I'm off
Yeah.
to Vegas.
Yeah.
Guess what, Paul?
I'm
like,
at the little white chapel.
Elvis
Yeah.
Chapel.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I'm not ready for all of this.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
But I really think too, as we're like talking more about the approval of me or like my control issues or something, that me being critical, like, or pushing people always to be the best. How do I not project that onto my mom's significant other, right? Because what happens if he's a great guy, but there's a couple things that drive me nuts, right?
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
can't talk to him like I could my mom or my
Yeah.
brother or my boyfriend yet because he's new. So we
Yeah.
don't have that type of banter. So I can't be like, oh, Joe, he's somebody who, complains about that he doesn't have a fit bod, but Joe's sitting on the couch watching the Mission Impossible movies with my mom. Well, I'm like, well, Joe, like you might not be getting the body you want because you're on the couch, like
Yeah.
that's how I would.
But he's watching Mission Impossible with me,
True.
knowing
Okay.
that it's my
Mhm.
favorite movies.
You're right.
So there you go. See?
Yeah.
How do you not overstep that boundary and push, that person? Like, I guess I can't, right?
Yeah, Jordy's going to be calling me up, Barb. You got to dump him.
Yeah.
Like, get him off the couch. I can't hear this anymore.
I can't hear it. Stop watching Mission Impossible. Go do something.
No, literally. I'm like thinking in my head, I already have like all these scenarios that you can see my wheel spinning in here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Jess, like realistically, somebody, listening to this in our conversation, it's inevitable that your parent, if they are single, are going to find love again in some way, shape, or form, with another human. And
Mhm.
you as a child are going to kind of have to take a back seat to
Mhm.
that and let the universe take its course of how it's supposed to pan out.
Mhm.
But there always is a happy medium of balancing, do I see this person's behavior being destructive? Is there a fine line between being overcritical and dissecting things that are like, okay, we could let that go. You got to find the line of where it's time to jump in and how serious is the nature, correct?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think you might have to have a balance of this is what I want for my mom because this is what she deserves. Like you have such like your mom is on your pedestal. You have her like degree hanging up in your room, like all this stuff, like your degree, there it is, right? Her graduation photo. So like you
In fact,
know,
I have that right there readily
yeah.
available.
So like you have it
I'm
all
never
there.
finding anybody. Let's face it.
You will, for sure. For sure you will. But I think that basically you're just going to love her enough to give space, but you're also going to know when it's time to step in, like intuitively. Like, but I think you're going to have to throttle your expectations of who you think she should be with versus like just sometimes the reality.
Who else is going to love my mom enough to put a picture of her graduation next to them? I mean, come on.
I know. Like, let's say you do get along really well with this guy and he does become more than just your mom's
Yeah.
boyfriend or your mom's significant other, and he does incorporate his life into your life and becomes a more significant figure, something that you feel like you've missed. Like,
Yes.
have you even allowed yourself to entertain that or no?
I honestly never even thought of that. No.
Really?
It's funny because I have gone through my life in many times thinking like, am I going to get that? Like, will I ever even have that? I don't even know what that looks like, right? Just males in my life, I just feel like never have been really constant. And I kind of just more recently had a reflective moment where I was like, I don't think I'll ever have this. And that's okay. I think like a part of you always wants to say, oh, you'll have that fatherly figure or something like that.
Mhm.
But I don't know if I ever can say that I will miss it because I don't know if I ever had it, if that makes sense.
I mean, would you agree that there's almost like a biological craving for that though? Or do you feel like you've numbed that or you've just accepted that?
I feel like it's too late now because I feel like I'm already built as an adult. So to me, having some person come in that is 50, 60 years old talking to me,
Mhm.
I'd be like, I kind of already learned what I needed to learn at this point. Like the
Yeah.
early developmental years have passed.
Mhm.
So it's like those extra soundboards. I don't think I would need to go in and say, John, will you be my daddy now? Kind of not
Yeah.
saying that I would
No,
do that, but
but
like,
that's a shame because I think, oh, that person, I would want that person to come in and have that relationship with you. Like for once, I would be bringing somebody in that could do that for you. I feel like that's like a thing for me.
Mhm.
yeah, I think I would look at that person. I would consider that person my family. Do I need to put a label on it? Maybe not. To the outside world, if this guy was years in and shown up and time again, and made my mom feel good and was the person that I think he would be, then I would say to people like, oh yeah, it's my mom's boyfriend or my mom's significant other. If they got married, I
Mhm.
would technically say my stepdad, but I don't know if I could ever look at somebody at 30 above and say, you're like my dad. I don't know.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Like, I know right now you're thinking like that ship has passed. I truly, and just in my experience, I believe it's a biological need to have these figures in our life. And I think we naturally will gravitate towards people to fill those roles if we don't get them like with our parents, like our biological parents. So I think you might be surprised.
Oh
Oh,
shit.
that's that's good to hear because that's
Yeah.
what I always think. Like one of my things is like, oh, sometimes I'm like, I'm not dating ever. I'm done. I don't want to do
Mhm.
this. And then I think, no, I could really bring in a good, I mean, I can't go on my past experiences, but
This
maybe
is the new
there's
you, the new
yeah,
you.
the new me could bring in somebody really like that. My boys would have someone,
Mhm.
that they could like talk to or like not pal around, but like we could all be
Yeah.
together and actually have fun together and do things
Mhm.
all together, like things they didn't have.
Just, from what we hear on the podcast and stuff, like with Barb and your experience, and as parents, we all have regrets and stuff. I also feel like just as a natural thing that would happen because you fall in love and that happens, I think that a lot of healing, internal healing would happen for you. I just feel like some of that would be
Closure for her. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
able to bring someone in. Oh my God, like my boys enjoy being with him and like him and want him around and to call him up on the phone and ask their opinion about something, like
She's like,
anything.
finally, finally, somebody.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I totally get that. And
yeah.
and even when you said like, don't trust my track record, whatever, and like the new version of you, honestly, you just grew up with somebody. Like, you
Yeah,
mean,
exactly.
it wasn't even like you don't even have a track record.
Yeah,
So,
I agree. I
you know what I
agree.
mean? Like,
Yeah,
you're
that's
just
true.
fresh. You're just a little baby out there.
It's a whole different you. That's not even the same person.
I know, but
No.
me, I still have in the back of my head, like,
The fact that you have awareness of it to me shows that you'll never go about
Yeah.
now that, yeah, you're so aware of it now, you would
Yeah.
never.
So there's like built-in alarms in your body, Barb, that you'll be out on a date and you're going to have to there's going to be something that's going to trigger up, the trauma, or it's going to remind you it's going to be too similar. And
Yeah.
before you write them off, you're really going to have to, double check and just say, wait, was this just like a trauma response? Like, am I just reacting and I really have to give them a second chance? And it was just like a fluke thing? Or is my gut, my sixth sense, really trying to tell me, nope, this would be the same path?
Yeah.
And then she'll have me over her shoulder at her date, sitting there at the table, like, well, mom, see that
We'll be
right
at
there.
a table a couple
Yeah.
tables away.
You'll have an earpiece in.
No, literally, I'll be like, say this, say this. So, Jess, to wrap this all up of this new adventure in terms of shifting dynamics and the boundaries that come with bringing a man into my mom's life, is that our relationship will change. That's inevitable. It will happen, but our willingness, our love for each other, it's constant, it's consistent. It will always stay there. And as long as we communicate, my mom and I, of what we need or what we don't like or what we need differently, as long as we're communicative about those things, that will never change the real core of our foundational relationship.
Yeah, I think you should really just look at it like we're just going to be making space for another family member, you're just making space. Like the actual relationship, your dynamic and the way that you guys interact and connect, that's not going to change. It's just there's going to be space for another person in there. So it just might be not as often or not at the right time because maybe she's watching Mission Impossible. It's just allowing space for that person.
Well, Jess, I love you seriously. I so much so. I think you are truly one of a kind. I'm obsessed with you. I will say that till the wheels fall off. Before we let you go, I want everyone to know where they can check out Mind Your Boundaries.
First of all, thank you guys for letting me come on, because I adore you both and your dynamic. Everyone should just have some like a piece of you guys. So the fact that you do your podcast and share your relationship with everybody, like with us, is very precious. Like just allowing you to have, just have you guys on in the background, it makes people feel less lonely. And that's just like an epidemic. And you're always bring people like laughs but good stuff too, like hard conversations. It's all like so good. And there's a lot of value in what you're doing. So,
Thank
and
you
where
so
you can,
much.
yeah,
Yeah.
I
All
truly
right,
believe
yes. I told
I
you it
know.
was an emotional day, okay?
No, but you've always been very like supportive, always like standing behind us, and like that to me, I will never forget that. I know
You're
how
coming
much.
on every season, just
Yeah,
so
you
you know.
are. You are.
Absolutely.
You
Thank
are.
you.
You are. I'm like,
But,
I don't
like-
even care if it's about like I don't
Whatever.
even. Yeah, like mom, I need
It's
to.
an emotional day. Come on, Jess.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
let's
just
talk
coming
about
on.
it.
Yeah.
No, I love it. So yeah, they can just find me at Mind Your Boundaries on all platforms.
Love it.
Love that.
YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all of
Instagram.
it.
Yep.
She's
Yep.
on there.
Yep.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you, Jess. We love you
Thank
over
you
here at
so
the Hold
much.
On, I'm Calling My Mom podcast. Jess, I can't thank you enough for coming on this week. Love always chatting with you and all the knowledge and insight you always have. I feel like I leave every conversation with you with my wheels spinning in my head more than they already are about just different things that I've never thought of in a new perspective. So every season we've already said Jess is coming on, no matter what the topic is, we're bringing her on. So we will definitely be seeing her very soon. And I want to thank you all once again for listening to this week's episode. I so appreciate it. And it wouldn't be a typical episode if I didn't close out by saying, please make sure, if you haven't, check us out on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Follow us there. Make sure you're listening to this either on Apple or Spotify and follow us there. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube channel to keep up with everything that we're posting on there. And if you want to get into the conversation, you know where to hit us up at Hold On, I'm Calling My Mom podcast at gmail.com. And I can't wait to see all of you guys here next week with my mom, because the bitch will be back. We can't have Barb gone for too long. She only has so much PTO that I will approve for her to have off. So sick days we'll give a little bit of a grace too, but her ass is going to be back here next week. And I am going to be doing the honors. Hopefully Barb will approve of this. I'm hanging up now. Call you later. Bye. We'll see how I did on that one. Okay, love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.